east wing of the White House is going to be torn down by this weekend, which is a pretty stunning thing, right? Trump had said this wasn't going to touch the White House. Now the entire east wing is going to be torn down by this weekend, according to the New York Times. I'll put up the picture because we've been showing a live camera of the actual demolition, and obviously it's a bit dark. But
welcome back to Just Another Black Conservative. On this video, we're going to take a look at CNN worried about this construction that's going on at the White House. They brought on three experts, and I guess they're going to give their opinion on what Trump is doing to the White House and how it's so bad. But let's take a look. Let's see what they have to say.
Here over earpiece, you can see it right there next to the actual center of the White House itself. You are warning, Edward, that there could be a lot more surprises to come. I mean, this is a pretty big surprise. Not going to touch the White House and now demolishing the whole East Wing. What do you mean with more surprises?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think we're going to see more and more surprises down the road, both in terms of the impact on the executive mansion itself. It could go beyond the East Wing. It could affect the executive mansion building itself, the original 1800 building. But I think much more likely what we're going to see is a ballroom that's going to be even more ostentatious. And it's going to turn the executive mansion into an annex to the party space.
Okay, wait, let me just make sure just to put...
Oh, what? An annex to the party space? Like to throw party? Oh, wait, the area that they throw parties at the White House? It's going to be ostentatious. I guess another way of saying that it's going to be gaudy, that it's going to be ugly. Let's just keep listening.
As I'm hearing you say this, I'm just thinking about it, right? A White House that I've seen as a tourist, that I've seen as a journalist on the inside. You're saying that the upshot of all this may be that the actual White House itself, that people think of as the White House, will essentially become an annex to a large ballroom in terms of how it appears, if this goes ahead even as currently.
Oh, so you're going to say that the ballroom is going to outperform the White House. The ballroom will kind of like make it so that their eyes will go to the ballroom instead of the White House. Is that his problem? The aesthetics of what it's going to look like? Is that what he's saying?
They plan.
Yeah, if you look at it now, and like I was born in Washington, D.C., I lived most of my life there. If you look at the executive mansion now, you see 225 years of history, even further back to the influence of George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and the architect James Hoban. And you see that history. Now your attention is going to be drawn to this giant ballroom, which really has one man's name on it. It's going to cast the executive mansion into the shade and turn it much more into a presidential palace. And I just say, as a Founding Fathers historian, spent most of my life with George Washington, I think all of the founders would have been disgusted by this.
He thinks all of the founders would have been disgusted by this. Like, how does he know? Like, he's going to go back in time, dig up all of the Founding Fathers and say, Trump is building a ballroom onto the White House. Are you disgusted? And they're going to say, yep, we're disgusted. We totally agree with you. Does he not know that our founders were some of the most combative people? Like, they debated everything. They probably would debate this. That doesn't mean they would not like it or they wouldn't be okay with it. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he's saying it's turning it into a palace, so too much like the king. No kings. Let's go.
Much more of a presidential palace. Lulu, just hearing Edward, who was...
Wait, let's go, Lulu.
The chief historian of the White House Historical Association, Trump's first term, right? And his life studying this. Talking about the ostentatiousness that's going to look like the White House itself is it's an annex to an actual ballroom, that it's going to look like a presidential palace in other countries, so different than what the White House is in the United States. Whoa, what's your reaction to that, Lulu?
I think this is going to be delivering President Trump's opposition a huge gift. You know, at the end of the day, we in America are a country of forgetting, right? We forget our history. We don't often celebrate it.
Wait, this is coming from the leftists, the ones that wanted to destroy take down statues. Is this the same group that wanted to take down the statues? This historian, I don't think I ever heard him say anything about the statues they wanted to snatch down, and that taking away from the aesthetics of Washington, D.C., the founders, the historic importance of our capital. Did I hear anything from this historian about that? I don't think so.
We are a country that famously moves forward all the time and looks to the future. This is one of those places which I think most people hold in their hearts because it is the most visible symbol of American history, the best of American history. And this president...
Wait. How many times have we heard that the White House was built by slaves? Drop in the comment how many times you've heard that the White House was built by slaves, therefore it's not a good place. How many times have we heard that? How many statues did they want to take down? Come on now.
The president has decided, without any consultation, without any preservation, to simply tear it down. And I think...
Another thing, how does she know he didn't get any consultation on this? Do you think Trump just did this willy-nilly without talking to anybody about it? Talking about any historical people or how the architecture should be done to mimic what the White House already looks like? I don't think Trump would build a whole thing that doesn't match with the architecture that's already there.
You know, what we've seen this White House do is bet that the American people will forget, that there will be another thing that they will be upset about or another thing they'll find interesting, and they won't focus on this. But this ballroom will endure, and I think it will cause this administration a lot of headaches in the future, because what will have been lost and what is being built are two very different things. And I think Democrats and others can point to it and say, this is where this president has put his focus, and it really isn't a symbol of...
If the Democrats want to argue that, let them. I like them to argue that. Because they can't figure out what to argue about. So yeah.
The America that most people want to embrace.
You know, David, you worked at the White House. You were there every single day.
Yes.
What's your reaction when you look at these pictures, you look at the demolition itself, and then after that visceral emotional reaction, you then...
How do you know his reaction is going to be visceral? Because he thinks like you. All three of these panelists think like you. That's how you know exactly how they feel about it. You don't bring in anybody who may have a different opinion. That's the thing about CNN. I love it.
And hear what Edward's saying about the outcome here being that this would look like a presidential palace in another country, a ballroom with an annex.
Yeah, no, I think it's revealing about the mindset of this president.
David Axelrod. Oh, God, the biggest scuba of them all. Yeah.
And I will tell you, Aaron, every single day when I worked there, I walked into that building with reverence and a deep awareness that every nook and cranny, every wall was witness to history of our country. And some of the greatest leaders in the history of our country worked in that building, dealing with the challenges and crises of their time and building our future. And, you know, the wanton, this is sort of a metaphor for a lot of what we've seen, the sort of reckless destruction on the one hand, and the erasure of history.
What history is being erased? Is he saying that doing what he's doing to the East Wing, maybe removing the East Wing? Or is that what he's saying is going to be the erasure of history? Again, none of these people said a word about the statues that people wanted to take down. And again, I say this: how many times have you heard? Drop in the comments. I'm telling you. Drop in the comments how many Democrats did you hear saying that they didn't want the statues to be taken down? For heaven's sakes, they wanted to take down Abraham Lincoln's statue. Abraham Lincoln statue. All right.
And these are the hallmarks of what this president has done. Now, Tom Tillis is right that, you know, we have people who are day to day in this country trying to struggle on their paychecks to take care of their bills and hope for something better. And I think that the visual of
Tom Tillis is a squishy Republican. They always bring him up, but he's squishy anyways. The other thing too, this is completely funded by Trump and donors, of course. They're not spending any taxpayer money to do this. They don't bring that up in this conversation. I'm going to guarantee you they don't bring it up in this conversation.
this, it will just compound their sense of revulsion about what's going on here.
Well, also, I mean, I will say, and I know we sit here and think of this, but when, thinking of places I've traveled in recent years that the world has seen images from, and that we all have seen images from, of such destruction, right? And to think that you're seeing an image like this and it's the actual White House in Washington, D.C., there's something so deeply jarring about that, Edward.
There's something so deeply disturbing. She's comparing this destruction to war zone destruction. Lord. All right.
When the White House says that this ballroom is just another renovation, right? There have been renovations in the past, that this is just one in a long line. Is there any truth in that? I mean, obviously it sounds like you're making it clear that no, this is very different.
Yeah, I'd say, first of all, I've got a lot of attention from media outlets all around the world who are very interested and very upset by what's going on. So we're sending the wrong image abroad. But the administration's...
Why do we care what they think abroad? It's America. The White House is the people's building. Right? Okay. Now let's hear what he says about the other presidents that have done stuff to the White House and why that isn't bad, but what Trump's doing is bad.
Talking point that this is just like any other change is absolutely disingenuous, and it's a misdirection because they're suggesting anybody who criticizes this is just a stick in the mud. They don't want change. The issue is that this addition turns the White House and the Executive Mansion into something that it is not. It is no longer the people's house. It is no...
Why is it no longer the people's house? Just because he did that, he's going to do this expansion or build this ballroom onto the White House. Why is it not still the people's house? How is it not the people's house in the Capitol? Someone drop in the comments. Explain to me how it's not the people's house anymore.
No longer in tune with what the founders intended, and it's no longer in tune with the history of our country. It sends the wrong message.
David, this...
So wait, you got to dig the founders up to come back and decide that they want to build a ballroom onto the White House. So actually, any renovations done to the White House, you got to dig the founders up and say, hey, yo, this is what we want to do to the White House. Is it okay? Come on, guy.
Conversation that...
Wait, and he did not address the question. What about the other renovations done to the White House? They were all good because they weren't Trump that did. It wasn't Trump that did them.
Trump talked about it, and I know you were... He called you in 2010 about the ballroom. You were at the White House, obviously working for President Obama. So you write in your book about this, he referenced it, but you write in your book about it, and about what Trump told you. He said, I build ballrooms, beautiful ballrooms. You can go to Tampa and check out one of them for yourself. I see you have these state dinners on the lawn there in these bleep little tents. Let me build you a ballroom you can assemble and take apart. Trust me, it'll look great. What do you remember about that conversation in the context of what we're looking at right now?
Well, first of all, he was suggesting a modular ballroom that could be constructed and taken apart, and that's not what's going on here. This is literally the replacement of the East Wing of the White House with a ballroom, and that is something quite different. He obviously knew then that wasn't going to fly with us. He thinks it should be a palace. He thinks of himself that way.
Yep, thinks of himself as a king. That's right, baby. King Trump.
It's so ironic. We're going to celebrate the 250th anniversary of our Declaration of Independence from a king, and he aspires to be one. And the surroundings that...
This is the narrative from the Democrats. Trump wants to be king.
He's creating, he thinks are befitting that. The thing that made the White House so dignified was the simplicity of it. That it wasn't about, we weren't about kings. We were about people kind of working every day to try and make the country better in relatively modest.
The White House is not a modest building. The White House is actually one of the greatest constructions of modern history, in my opinion. The architecture is of course British colonial, a lot of it with the columns and Roman influence as well. So I'm not sure what he's getting at, and also, what's the problem with adding on to the White House, or enhancing the White House, or even making it different? Every president that has been in the White House has had its own touch on the White House. They've done things to the White House. They're making this into an issue because it's Trump.
Surroundings. But so this is really quite different. But my recollection of that was that he thought it wasn't right for the country, that it was bad for the country to not have a kind of palace-like setting for these state dinners, and he misunderstands why people were so eager to come. It's because of what America represented, not because.
Exactly. It's not about the White House. It's about America. The White House and the capital of the country is what everybody wants to see, because that is where that's our government. That's the central part of our government. So of course you want to go there. You want to see the White House. You want to see the Washington Monument. You want to see all the stuff that's the White House lawn. All those things are our country. Just because someone is adding something to that doesn't mean he's taking away from it. I think people don't understand that, but they want to go on and on about how they want to reserve history, but they had no problem with people taking down those statues. I still to this day don't understand that. Please. All right.
Of the gold that we had around us, and so he is acting on the feelings that he expressed that day, but he's doing it with a kind of wanton destruction that he didn't even propose then.
All right, thank you all.
All right, thanks for hanging out with me watching this video from CNN about how they are deeply distraught about Trump doing something to the White House. Thanks for hanging out. Like, subscribe, comment, whatever you like to do. Thanks for hanging out. I enjoy having you here. I enjoy making these videos, and I'll see you on the next video.